What's up guys, my name is Ace, and one of the top criticisms I've been seeing float around for the Modern Warfare 2 beta is the time to kill is way too fast. And of course, this means I wanted to put this to the test, collect the data on this to see what the actual values are and how they compare to other Call of Duty games to see if this really is an outlier or if perhaps there's something else going on here. Now, just a quick disclaimer up front, for all of the data here, it's obviously hand tested. This isn't data mined or anything like that. And therefore, rate of fire values, for instance, might be rounded slightly compared to what the coded values are. And I can't see what's going on with body multipliers, for instance, if there are any. But I was making sure when I was finding the number of shots to kill, for instance, I was taking gunfights where I was hitting generally center mass on enemies. And I didn't just look at like a single gunfight and say, okay, that's the number of shots to kill. I was looking at a bunch of gunfights for each one of these weapons to ensure I was getting a good, consistent number of shots to kill within the given range that I was testing. And with that in mind, let's dive right into it, and we'll start it off with the assault rifles. With the Lockman 5.56, I calculated a rate of fire of 714 rounds per minute, and I found that this appears to be a 4 to 5 shot kill, which means up close our time to kill is 252 milliseconds, and at a distance it's 336. Then with the M4, our rate of fire is just under 800 rounds per minute. Again, this is a 4 to 5 shot kill, which does give us a faster time to kill than the Lockman. I didn't want to touch on the M16 simply because with burst guns and hand testing, it just doesn't go together very well. And since I won't be confident in the accuracy of that data, I don't want to skew the averages and the results for the guns that I am more confident with. So we're skipping to the 74U, and with this one, it's actually a 3-shot kill up close with a 648 round per minute fire rate for an up close time to kill potential of 185 milliseconds, which is quite fast, but that gives us an average time to kill in the maximum damage range for assault rifles at 221 milliseconds. And let's just see how that stacks up against older Call of Duty games going back all the way to COD 4. Keeping in mind, anything in red, this is time to kill potentials using like stopping power, or in the case of Vanguard, using magazine attachments that boost our damage, whereas all the other ones are our base time to kill averages. And many of you might be surprised to see here, the Modern Warfare 2 beta assault rifle time to kill is sort of right in the middle of where we would expect time to kill values to be, whereas it's actually noticeably slower than a lot of the older Call of Duty games like COD 4 or the original Modern Warfare 2. But that's just looking at assault rifles. Now let's move into the SMGs, and within the first weekend of the beta, unfortunately we only had access to 2 SMGs, and you had to use a workaround to get access to one of them. But with the Lockman sub, or the MP5, this has a rate of fire of around 790 rounds per minute. It does have a 3-shot kill range, although I think it is quite a short 3-shot kill range, but within that short range, it kills in 152 milliseconds, which is very, very fast. And then it does quickly drop off to a 4-shot kill, which is 228 milliseconds. As for the Hurricane SMG, this one has a rate of fire of 694 rounds per minute. Again, it does appear to have a 3-shot kill range. I'm not too sure how big that 3-shot kill range is, though. I was noticing a lot of my mid-range gunfights were 4 shots to kill. But right up close and personal, this will kill in 173 milliseconds for a 3-shot kill. What this means is right up close and personal, our time to kill average with SMGs so far is 162 milliseconds, which is quite fast, but again, let's compare this to older Call of Duty games. And once again, we're seeing a very similar trend here, where with the exception of Vanguard's potential, if we compare this to the last like 7 or 8 years of Call of Duty, this is definitely on the faster side. But when we're looking at the older Call of Duty games like Ghosts and earlier, this is kind of around average for what an SMG would do at point blank range. So once again, just like with the assault rifles, this time to kill value isn't completely out of the ordinary. It does lean a little more toward the faster side, but it's not way outside the realm of what we would normally expect in a Call of Duty game, especially in an Infinity Ward Call of Duty game. Now finally, for this comparison, we're going to have a look at the LMGs, and we once again only have access to 2 LMGs so far in the beta. And with the 5.56 Icarus, this has a rate of fire of 776 rounds per minute, and it will kill in 3 shots in most ranges that you'll find in this game as far as I can tell, and that will give us a time to kill potential of 155 milliseconds. Then with the MG38, our rate of fire is noticeably slower at 651 rounds per minute, and I found it very interesting here, it's also a 4-shot kill. You think it would be the opposite. Since it has a slower fire rate, it should be dealing more damage than the other LMG, but it wasn't the case. And what this means is with this LMG, our time to kill potential is 276 milliseconds, which is actually very slow for an LMG. But when we put both of those together, they average out to a time to kill of 216 milliseconds, And once again, when we compare it to older Call of Duty games, if anything, this is a little bit on the slower side, but I think there's also some balancing issues with these LMGs, and I don't see them being balanced in this way in the full build of the game. This just doesn't really seem to make much sense to me. So take this one with a grain of salt. I suspect these values will be changing. And there we go. Those are the primary weapon classes I wanted to look at in today's video. And to answer the question, is the time to kill too fast? Obviously, this does come down to personal taste to some degree, but when comparing this to the Call of Duty franchise, no, this doesn't fall outside the realm. This game isn't an outlier when it comes to time to kill. This is a fairly typical Infinity Ward Call of Duty time to kill. And honestly, even though this is currently going against the grain of the community feedback at the moment, this is how I felt as well. I didn't feel as though this time to kill was way outside the realm of average. I expected a faster time to kill with an Infinity Ward Call of Duty game, and this game isn't an outlier there. Do I personally prefer a bit of a slower time to kill? Yeah, a little bit. But at the same time, there's pros and cons to having a slower versus a faster time to kill in Call of Duty. And I personally have no problem adapting to either of those. One nice thing about a faster time to kill is killing multiple enemies if you take them off guard. That becomes a lot easier and more rewarded. And another thing is it makes balancing one-shot kill weapons a lot easier. So that's my personal take on it. Of course, I'm sure there's some room for weapon balancing with individual guns. Maybe some guns are currently overperforming, and I wouldn't mind seeing some of them maybe toned back in a couple areas in order to slow down the practical time to kill feeling a little. But on average, at least, this time to kill is not an outlier for the Call of Duty franchise. Now, having said that, I did want to touch on a few potential reasons that people may be feeling that this time to kill is faster, and one of them might sound very strange, but I honestly feel this is part of the case. While I was watching a lot of my footage back and trying to get a gauge on the time to kill potential, I was noticing hit marker sounds in this are very quiet and also inconsistent. You don't seem to get a hit marker sound played for every hit marker that you get when firing full auto. Many times in my gunfights, I would literally only hear one hit marker throughout the course of the gunfight, even though you can count them and I'm definitely getting 3 or 4. And I think that is slightly skewing the perception of the time to kill for some people. It feels like they're killing in just one bullet because that auditory feedback is telling you that you're killing in one bullet. Second, I've got to admit, the connection quality in this beta, at least for me, and I know everybody's experience is going to differ here, but for me, the connection quality has been excellent. Like, this is probably the best connection experience that I've ever had in a Call of Duty beta. And I actually decided to go in and check the tick rates out, and unless they're splitting packets, which I'm not 100% sure if they are, it appears our server tick rate is actually in the high 60s, which is excellent for a Call of Duty game at least. I think that's actually the highest I've ever seen in a Call of Duty game. Typically 6v6 in recent years hovers around 60 hertz. This is even higher than that, and I've had very few complaints when it comes to connections, but because of that, that can also make the hit detection and everything feel so much better, and it can feel like you're killing and also dying a lot faster, and again, that might be contributing to the feeling of a faster time to kill. Additionally, I know I harp on this a lot, but just trying to explain why the time to kill may feel faster, I think there's also a lot more pre-aim situations going on in this game compared to some recent Call of Duty games that we've been playing, where the sort of experienced time to kill in a gunfight isn't including the sprint out or aim down sight time nearly as often as recent years because the person is already pre-aimed, and not only that, they're hearing you coming around the corner so they know exactly when to start pre-firing. Just as a great example, I tweeted this video out a couple days ago to highlight how loud the footsteps can be. I was able to hear the exact location of this player in this building when he was about, I'd say, 10 to 15 meters away from me through a wall. I could hear exactly where he was and exactly when he was about to come through that doorway. And because of this, I was able to pre-fire without ever seeing his character model. And from his perspective, that's an insta-death. Like, he probably didn't even register that I was on his screen because I was able to pre-fire him so effectively. And I do feel like this is contributing to the time to kill feeling faster in some situations. Instead of a standard gunfight essentially starting from the moment you see your target and then you have to react and either come out of sprint or aim down sight and then start shooting your target, now you're able to do all that prep work beforehand because you don't need to see your target, you can hear them coming. And this allows for essentially insta-kills in some situations. This obviously doesn't account for every situation, but I do feel like this is contributing to the faster feeling time to kill. And with that, that's pretty much everything I've got for you guys in today's video. When it comes to my feedback on time to kill, at least on average, I'm fine with it in its current state. I certainly wouldn't be opposed to them slowing it down a little bit if that's what they choose, but it's also not something I'm going to be pushing heavily for. I think it's in an okay place for an Infinity Ward Call of Duty game. But of course, that is just my opinion. At least now I've armed you with some data so that you can use that to provide your feedback. And if you disagree with me, that's totally fine. I'd love to hear what your guys' thoughts are on the time to kill in the Modern Warfare 2 beta, especially now that you can see the numbers for yourself. And if you guys enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated. And don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.